I love the theme of this conference, Catch the Wave, and it just reminds me of surfing. Do any of you surf? Not a single person, and I understand why. Because surfing just scares the daylights out of me. We always lived inland, and so I never really saw surfers, and I certainly never thought about surfing until about 15 years ago when I moved, well, the whole family moved from Texas to Florida, and now we're like 15 minutes away from the coast, and my teenage daughter thought those surfers were really cool, and she wanted to surf too. But I'm all about safety. I mean, we are very close, like the Gilmore Girls, except I'm a lot older than Lorelai was. And so, I'm not going to go out there with her. And so I thought it was important that she get some good skills. So we sent her off to it was just a week-long camp that they had during the summer that was sponsored by Billabong. And she learned all the surfing basics. And when we picked her up, she was like so excited. I kind of half thought that maybe if we sent her there, she'd learn a little bit about surfing and she'd decide she really didn't want to do that. But that's not how it worked. And she was so excited. And she was just so hyper when I came to pick her up. And then she gave us a tour of the facility. And in the game room, we found out it was not just sponsored by Billabong. It was sponsored by Red Bull. And there was Red Bull in all the coolers throughout the facility. These are teenagers, mind you. Hopefully they've changed their way. But anyway, the next year, we went off to Costa Rica. My husband got this assignment, poor guy, have to go to Costa Rica to learn the Spanish language. And so Allie and I went along with him, and there she found herself a teacher, pretty inexpensive there in Costa Rica, who would give her private lessons on surfing. And she got to be pretty darn good. So by the time she came back, she spent some of her babysitting money and bought herself a used surfboard. And she was so excited she wanted to go out in the water all the time. But of course, I am a Red Cross certified lifeguard, at least I was a billion years ago. And that's what I did throughout high school and college, is I was a lifeguard. I taught, water safety instructions. And the first rule is you never swim alone. So she wasn't going to go out in the water unless she had some company, and she found some company. There was one girlfriend who was willing to give it a go, and she was a good, strong swimmer, so I felt comfortable with her being out there. We also found a young lady from Hawaii, there in Cocoa Beach, Florida, who was her mentor, coach, or whatever. She only charged the price of a babysitter, but let's face it, even though babysitters don't charge very much per hour, when you use them over and over again, it can be very expensive. So she kept on bugging me, Mom, you gotta go with me. All you have to do is sit on the board out there past the water and keep me company. And I'm thinking, I just know that balancing on that, I've tried a few things, and balance is not, my forte. I know how to snow ski. I grew up north. I know how to snow ski. But then I tried to do, what's that other activity when you do in the snow? Snowboarding, yeah. No way. So I decided this is just not my forte. And so there was that, and then there was this. And I said, I'm not going out there at all. So what we're going to be talking about in the next, 45 minutes or so, is talking about how to manage stressful situations. And what is stress? Well, stress is kind of like this. You're driving along, minding your own business, listening to your own radio station here in California. I'm sure the roads are insane. Then all of a sudden somebody pulls out in front of you, slams on the brakes, and what happens? I mean, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, you release all this oxygenated blood and glucose to that muscle, and the foot lands on the brake just in time, and you avoid the accident, hopefully. Again, this is California. I know, it's a lot like some of the cities that I've lived in as well, including Miami. Crazy drivers in Miami. So that's acute stress. And I want you to know that stress is life-saving. So when people talk about stress being bad, realize this saved your life. There's nothing wrong with stress. It's just that when you get that chronic stress where you want to scream at the top of your lungs all the time because it's driving you crazy, that's the problem. Because it causes a whole host of physical ailments, including, my book is about Reboot, how to power up your energy. And loss of energy is definitely the result of a lot of chronic stress. People complain that they're always tired. High blood sugar, high blood pressure. When people think, you know, what kind of, and as a registered dietitian, people come to me and say, well, what can I do to get my blood sugar down, my blood pressure down? And they think it's all about diet. When in fact, maybe it's the stress that's causing more of the problems than the diet itself or the exercise. Stress management is so important that we get a grasp of what it's all about. And as a health coach, people always say to me, just tell me what I need to do, as if it's like a one-step formula for everybody. And of course that isn't true because, you know, it's different for different people. Like, for example, how many of you are with me? I ain't going on the water to go surfing. How many of you are with me in that one? And how many of you are saying, I'm ready, sign me up? Yeah, there's always some of those kind of people for the same thing. I remember my first job, I had to commute 40 minutes to work each way. This was in upstate New York. There was a lot of traffic. And I was just going crazy at that point. And then I remember my mom had driven and still did at that point an hour and a half from upstate New York into New York City every single day, hour and a half one way on a good day if it's not snowing or sleeting or if there's a traffic accident. And so I called her up and I said, how are you doing this? I cannot even handle 40 minutes. You've got twice as much as me. And she said, Joanne, remember, I've got 9 kids. This is my only escape. See, you know what? The same thing causes different reactions to different people. So it's not a one, you know, size fits all and we can just do this and that's how we're going to manage it. Realize that also stress has a lot to do with whatever you think it is. If you think it's stressful, it's stressful. And if you don't, it doesn't cause the same reaction at all, right? Mark Twain once said, I've had a lot of worries in my life. Most of them have never happened. And that's kind of what it is with me. I mean, I could have gotten an honorary degree in worrying. Anybody, you with me on that one? Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. I try not to think about things, but sometimes they just pop in my brain. For the next few minutes, we're going to take a little time out from our life, as maybe this conference has been for you. But you're going back to the real world. And I hope to give you a few skills that you can walk away with to help you to manage your stress a little bit better. I'd like to do some meditation, but we're not going to do that. But, you know, the opposite of the fight or flight reaction or the stress response is the relaxation response. And it is the exact opposite in terms of how the biology of the body works. In other words, it lowers your heart rate and lowers your breathing rate. And sometimes it's just as simple as a breathing exercise. So when people say, I don't have time to meditate, or my excuse was always, I can meditate, but I'll fall asleep. Do any of you have you ever tried that? You try to meditate and you're out in that lazy boy recliner chair and you just conk out. And maybe that's the meditation that you needed. But I want to share with you a really powerful meditation exercise that I learned from a Tai Chi instructor years ago. And it's something you can do anywhere at all. So it's just a simple exercise. I'm going to ask you to stand up in just a few minutes, but let me just explain what it is. All it is moving your arms up as you breathe in and moving your arms down as you exhale. That's all it is. Because sometimes taking deep breaths, you know, people say, just take some deep breaths, and you're, you know, which is feeding the stress response, right? It's hard to slow it down. But if you have something to time it with, and of course you can control your own hands, right? It's really easy to control your breathing. So if you would, stand up with me for a moment. And we're just going to take a few deep breaths. You know, put your feet comfortably out there so you're not going to fall over or anything. And, you know, think about, remember first position in ballet? Did any of you do that? Yeah, I did it. I flunked out. Just comfortably bring your arms up as you breathe in, get about chest high, turn your palms back down and breathe out. If you're comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes and do it at your own pace. And see if you can slow it down even more. What do you think? Was that powerful? Did you find yourself actually slowing down as you slowed down your arms? Go ahead and have a seat. What I like about the breathing exercise, I said you can do it any place. I'm talking any place. In other words, you can even imagine that your arms are moving. So you're talking with a participant and they're driving you crazy. You're saying, what I like about the breathing exercise, I said you can do it any place. I'm talking any place. In other words, you can even imagine that your arms are moving. So you're talking with a participant and they're driving you crazy. You're saying, they're not understanding. Take a few deep breaths and just imagine your arms lifting up and coming down. I actually do it in bed. I'm trying to unwind. This PhD and worrying is just driving me crazy. I just imagine my arms going up and coming down, and it helps me to slow down my breathing. And sometimes that's all we need to do is some little small thing like that. All right, here's the way I look at stress. You have 4 options. You can do nothing, keep complaining. You're going to lose friends over that because they're tired of hearing about it. You know, you can keep leaving. You can leave a job, leave a relationship, and perhaps you've done that. You leave because of a difficult person, and then you find out they're there at the next job. Oh, their face looks a little bit different. But you know, it's like those difficult personalities just are attracted to you maybe. And unless you learn how to deal with it, you're going to run into them again and again and again. You can stuff it. Do any of you use food or cigarettes or alcohol or something, right, to manage it? And you know, if you watch TV or any of those shows out there, how many times do they say, I need a drink? Or give me the ice cream, you know, right? I mean, it's perpetuated throughout social media as well that is an acceptable way. But who does it hurt? Only you. It didn't help the situation at all. In fact, afterwards, you feel worse, not better. The only option that really, truly works long term is to do something different. Now, some of you are probably thinking, but it's not my fault. They're the crazy ones. They're the ones that need to change. Have you ever said that? And granted, I feel the same way. Do you have any loved ones in your life? Think of one right now. Someone you really, truly love, and they love you back. Do they have any annoying habits that you wish they would stop doing? Yes. And maybe they've said the same thing about you, right? Now, will they change just because you want them to? Have you tried? Yes, I have tried too. Now, my husband is so cool. He listens, he nods, and he says, you're right, and nothing changes, right? Maybe we're married to the same guy. I don't know. But it's sweet that he doesn't argue with me. He just accepts it. He smiles and he moves on. But you know what? That's the thing. Nobody is going to change unless they want to change, including ourselves. We are no different, right? They have made a few comments about something that we do. Have we changed just because we love them so much? No, we don't change either. So the thing about stress is if you want to have a different reaction, well, you got to get off that insanity wheel. You know the definition of insanity? When you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, it never works. So we're going to try to do something different. I love this quote. Dr. Lerner wrote a book called The Dance of Anger like about 20, 30 years ago. It's a long time ago. And this quote has stuck with me ever since. It has really kind of, I think, changed my life. Because she said, we cannot change another person. We cannot make another person change his or her steps to an old dance. But if we change our own steps, the dance can no longer continue in the same predictable pattern. So in other words, if you have an ongoing argument, discussion, whatever you want to call it, with a loved one, they say this and you say that, and they say this and you say that, and it always ends with the, right? The same response. All you have to do is do something different, and I guarantee it has to change. It's like taking it from a movie script where everybody says what they're supposed to kind of like an improv session where you say something different. They cannot say the same thing. It doesn't fit anymore. And so they have to do something different. Maybe it's better. Maybe it's worse. I don't know. But it will be different. It will be different. So we're going to focus today on doing something different. So I want you to think about, and this is where the handout is all about. If you would, feel free to make notes on the back, but use the front where I tell you, so that this one sheet, you can kind of put it in on your desk, put it in your pocket, whatever, just to remind you of what your stress management strategy is. Right here where the sun is, I want you to pick one thing that really stresses you out right now. Maybe not right this immediate moment because it's not happening, but something that happens over and over again. You know it's going to come up again. If you would, put it in the sun. Just write down. Oh, by the way, if it is a particular person's behavior and that person is sitting next to you, if you would pick something else just for today, I would appreciate it. We don't want to cause any commotion here. But if you would put down something specific, and if you want to, speak in some kind of different language so other people don't understand, that's fine too. Use initials or whatever. But we're going to focus on just one stressor today, run through the change process so you can walk away with some solutions. So what kind of things? Does anybody want to share kind of what those issues are, as specifically or not? One word or a couple words?
Competing priorities.
Competing priorities. Excellent. Anybody else? Deadlines. Anybody have any difficult people there? Any family issues? Yeah, okay. See, it can be family, it can be work, it doesn't have to. Does everybody have something? Hold up your piece of paper if you've written something in the sun. And okay, not everybody's written something down. I want to see all those people, piece of paper. You have to write something down or this isn't going to work. Have we got? All right, I think that's just about everybody. So you've got your stressor down. We're going to, Mom used to always say, when you don't know what to do, say a prayer, and I agree, I think the Serenity Prayer is a wonderful way to start when it comes to stress, and most of us know this. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, accept the things that I cannot change, right? Certain things about other people and so forth we cannot change. How can we accept it better? We're going to maybe do something different where we can and figure out which is which. And that's all it is. This is what our change process is all about. So on the back side of that sheet of paper, if you would write something like this, a line, I can't control, I can control. And I want you to write down some of the aspects of your situation or your person or whatever. So for example, when it comes to my surfing, okay, I cannot control the water temperature, riptides, whether there are sharks in the water, but I can control what I wear if it's really too cold, whether I get training or not, whether I even want to go out, how far I want to go out, right? So those are things that I can and cannot control about, for example, going surfing. What about you? Can you write down a few things? Take a moment. I want to see everybody's pen going and write down some things you can and cannot control about the thing that you wrote in the sun. All right, we had one about competing priorities. Okay? What can't we control about competing priorities? We can't control what that other person asks us to do, right? Not directly anyway, right? Right. So under what you can control, you can say no, you can ask for extra time, you can ask them which would you prefer I do first, right? That's under what you can do, but you probably can't change the fact that they want you to do that, right? So, for example, I'm guessing what you probably found out is things outside of your control might be like Mother Nature. Maybe some of you are fighting traffic, and maybe that's part of it. You can't control that. You can't control other people's behaviors, their attitudes. You can't control what they ask of you, at least not directly. The only thing you can control, did you notice that with your list? The only thing you can control is what you do, what you think, how you respond, what you actually do. Does that make sense? So many people, when it comes to stress management, they want to focus all their attention on things they cannot control. It's not going to work. Remember the idea I gave earlier. If those loved ones aren't going to change for us, how much hope do we have for people that don't even like us to change, right? It ain't going to happen. So we've got to give it up. And I've got strategies that will help you with both of them. So the only thing you can change is you. So there on the front side, I want you to, on the beach, on that sign, say, right, I can't control. So any aspect of your stress that you can't control, this is where we chill. Write the word chill down there in the sand. And I think it's, I love the stress, catch the wave analogy because really, we go to the beach to chill, don't we? So it's a good reminder. And what I want you to do is to write down some things that either calm your body or calm your mind. Because when you calm your body, you calm your mind. When you calm your mind, you calm your body. It kind of goes hand in hand. So it might be things like this. I went to the yoga class this morning, and Dana gave a wonderful 1-hour class, very relaxing. So for me, going to yoga a couple times a week is crucial. It's like taking my medicine, you know what I mean? It just sets me up. I need to get a lot of sleep. If I don't get enough sleep, ain't nobody happy in my life. That's just the way it is. If I don't eat a certain way, the same thing. Skipped meals, big meals that put me to sleep, put me in a bad, foul mood. So those are some of the things that I can use to cope with things around me. And haven't you noticed that when you have a good night's sleep, things just seem better, right? Some of us are more sensitive than others. So on the front of your worksheet, I want you to write down some things that are really important for you. Remember, they're different for different people. Write one in every one of the palm fronds. I want you to come up with lots of strategies that you can pull out of the hat at any moment and say, I'm just going to take a few deep breaths because that's how I'm going to handle this difficult person. Or I'm going to go for a walk after lunch because I just need a little break. Maybe I'm going to make sure I get to bed on time because that's what I need to do. So think about the list that I gave you. Maybe there's other things as well. And write them in the palm fronds. Does anybody have something else that's not on my list? Because this is not complete. Yes. No. He said have a drink. That goes back to our 4 options. No. You know what? Actually, to have a drink is probably not a bad idea. Because we do know that people who have 1 for women, 2 for men, tend to have, lower risks of heart disease. But at the same time, having drinks probably is not a good idea. So there you go. 1 drink. All right, I'll accept that one. Yes. Oh, I should have written that down. Hug a dog or a cat. Or I'll tell you, I have 7 grandkids, and most of them are under the age of 5. Oh, they can make your day too. So yes, I should have written that one down. Yes. Find something that makes me laugh. And that's why the grandkids are helpful, because they just are so silly. But whatever makes you laugh, yes. Something to do with your hands. So it could be painting, any kind of art. If you would right now, go ahead and just share with your neighbor a couple ideas. I'll just give you just a minute. Just to share with your neighbors what kind of ideas you have, because maybe they'll have some ideas that you hadn't thought about. Go ahead, 1 minute. All right, wonderful. How many of you walked away with a few more ideas? Did you get a few more ideas? Wonderful. I'd love to hear more about them. So again, if there's some aspect of your stressor you can't control, then learn how to practice whatever it is that helps you to chill. I mean, that's part of it. Now, on the ocean side, on the surfboard, I want you to write I can control, because these are some of the things that you can do to change the situation. Because when you change your attitude, your thoughts, your emotions, your response, everything else changes. So, using the analogy of a wave, you think about it, when something happens, a lot of times people think, well, something results from it. You get the response. When in fact, it's not just, Allie asked me to go surfing and I said, oh, no. Before that happened comes a thought. Oh, I can't do that. I'm too old to be learning that. I have no good balance. I'm afraid I'm going to hurt myself. I have weak bones. I could end up in the hospital, whatever, right? Those are my thoughts, which lead to the emotion of being scared, fear, right? And that results in the response. So what we're going to do is slow down whatever is stressing us out and come up some ways that we can change along the way. In other words, it's not just changing how we do things. Maybe it's just as simple as changing our attitude, changing our emotions, and we're going to end up with a totally different result. So, for example, I want you on the back side to answer these 3 questions. Thinking about your stressor, write down, what are you saying to yourself? If you don't know what you're saying to yourself, think about the things you say to other people as you're complaining about whatever it is, right? Doesn't this person know I have other things to do? Do they have no idea what my job responsibilities are? That might be the competing, responsibilities. But write down anything that pops into your mind. Does anybody want to yell out some of their thoughts that they have? And you don't even have to explain them, but just, we all have had thoughts like that. Anybody? Not going to share. Okay. Yes. Okay, so you're getting ahead of me, because don't worry, be happy is a wonderful thought to have, because it kind of cancels out whatever that negative stuff, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. Think about what kind of emotion you're feeling when you're in that situation. By the way, angry or mad is not an emotion. I want you to think, and I don't know if you can read all of these back here, but think about it. How are you feeling? Afraid, annoyed, anxious, belittled? Are you feeling confused, maybe discouraged, discredited? hurt, impatient, irritated, left out? You feeling shame from the situation? Are you unsure of what you should be doing? Resentful, regretful? I mean, these are true emotions, and helping to identify what emotion you're feeling can help you determine what you should do differently. So, for example, if you feel like you are feeling helpless, then you need to do something that makes you feel more powerful, right? So you want to do the opposite. And I'll be happy to share this whole list with you. I'll give you some information right at the end to show you how to get all this information. But in that first wave there, I want you to write down an affirmation, just as you mentioned. Yours was what? Don't worry, be happy. Think about an affirmation like, I've got this, I can do it, I'm grateful, this is my passion. It is what it is. I love that one. Because sometimes that's all it is. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I got into the field of nutrition because of an eating disorder. And for years, I guess I still struggle with it now, sometimes not feeling good enough. In certain situations I find myself, and I have to remind myself, I am good enough. So maybe that's something that would work for you. I love helping others. This too shall pass. I'm a quick learner. So I don't know what your situation is, but come up with a mantra. Maybe you don't believe it 100%, but think about something that somebody would say to you, like a good friend, a kindly aunt, a colleague that knows and respects you. What would they say to you to pump you up? And if you would, write it in that wave, something you're going to remember to get yourself feeling, I can do this, I can handle it. So, anybody else have an affirmation, maybe one they use when they've just thought of, what is yours? I know who I am. Okay. Anybody else? You've got this. Let it go. Let it go. Yeah. All right. Oh, and what right here first? You are an inspiration. Yeah. Everything will be all right. Yeah. And I'll tell you, so many times when people say, I can't believe they said that to me. That was the meanest thing that they said. And then I remind them, how many times exactly did they say that to you? Well, just once, but it was just so mean. And how many times did you say it to yourself? Because it isn't the one time that somebody says something to us, it's the hundreds of times that we repeat it to ourselves, that we repeat it to other people and tell them how, this person said this thing. This is what's destroying us, not the one thing. So every single time you feel like repeating that in your head, whatever that nasty thought is, wipe it clean, let it go, and replace it with your own personal mantra. I'll tell you, how many of you do this on a constant basis? You have to, good, excellent. Anybody else doing it? You must be, yes, okay. Good, good, good. Keep that in mind because all you want to do is shut down that nasty voice that keeps going in your head. And I'll tell you, how many of you can get that thing going in your head? I went through a divorce a number of years ago, and I just couldn't get thoughts out of my head. And I'm sure people thought I was absolutely insane. I would go for a walk and I would say, I am a wise and wonderful woman with strength, flexibility, and balance. I am a wise and wonderful woman with strength, flexibility, and balance. And people probably pass me on the walkway thinking, this lady's crazy. But you know what? It was much better that my brain heard that positive message than the one that was running through my head at all times. So powerful. Find something that's easy, that flows off your tongue. But I'll tell you, what I find even better is, in order to change your emotions, what I like are theme songs. I don't know if you've ever done this, but a great way to change your emotion is a theme song, because songs can get stuck in your brain. Like, sometimes you feel like a nut. Any idea when the last time you heard that? It's been decades. It's been decades. That's how old you are. You're just as old as me, that you remember all that, right? It was a jingle for Almond Joy. And, and it gets stuck in our brain, and we remember it forever. And the cool thing about music is if you can get that going in your brain, you don't even have to consciously think of an affirmation. You can just hit play in your brain, and the song picks you up. How many of you have a personal theme song? Yeah, what is yours? Emmy Roar. I don't even think I have that one down, but I remember I've heard that one a lot. Anybody else have one? Yes. I will survive. Yes, powerful. All right, I want you to take 1 minute, share it with your neighbors, and then I'd love to hear from a few of you. If you would maybe share your song with us, just a few verses, would you? Because we all need a good theme song. Go ahead and take a minute. All right, do we have any other songs that we'd like to share? Anybody? Does anybody have a theme song they'd like to share? Okay, if you don't sing it, you can say it. But we all need some more ideas. Go ahead. Superwoman? I don't know Superwoman. You want to sing it? I'll look that up. Yes. Don't worry, be happy. I love that one. Yes. Something by Beyonce. It's called Formation. I don't know if I know that one. How many of you know that one? Yes? I'm just behind the times. All right, in the back. Follow Your Arrow by Keith. Oh, Casey. Casey what? Casey Musgraves. Okay. It's a Beatles song? Okay, but the song is what? Oh, Yellow Submarine, Yellow Submarine. Yeah, mine's James Brown. I feel good. Na, 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 na. And you know, the thing about that is I don't even know any of the words. I feel good. That's all I sing over and over again. And yes. Don't Stop Me Now. Pray. Brave. Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Yes? Bad Pain. I'm hearing Ben Gay, but I don't think that's it either. Bad Day. Oh, okay, Bad Day. We are the champions. Thank you. Thank you for being brave. Anybody else? Yes. Keep your head up. Wonderful. Can't stop the feeling. Yes. So now, have you got a few ideas of some theme songs that will work for you? Something you can hit play in your brain and just block out all that negative chatter? Because when you change your thoughts, when you change your emotions, I guarantee that you'll start feeling better. I'm a registered dietitian. I remember doing a stress management program years back with a group of registered dietitians. It was within the hospital community, and so it was a full-day program. They had an opportunity to leave for lunch, and I remember we were talking about these theme songs right before lunch. And when we came back, This woman was so excited she had to share. She said, there's this one doctor that just drives her crazy. And she said, as soon as, I'm there in the nurse's station and I see him walking down the hall, my anger just builds up because I just know he's going to say something really, he just is just flippant about women in general, but certainly about dietitians. I mean, what do we know type of thing. And so she said, I thought of my theme song. How does it go? You're too sexy for your, yeah. And she said she started singing that as he's walking down the hall. And when he came to the nurse's station, she had a smile on her face, not because she was smiling at him, but because she was playing that theme song in her head. And he just said, hey, hello, how are you doing today? And she was like, what? It just threw her off completely. It was not at all what she expected. When she changed her emotions, it changed the whole interaction. It's very powerful how this works. Now, the third step in that wave formation is to change the actual response that you give. And maybe changing your thoughts and changing your emotions have also already changed your response, but sometimes you could actually do something different. Like, for example, ask for help. When I was a kid, my nickname for the first couple of years of my life is I'm big girl. And that's what my mom said, that, I just stomped my foot, I'm big girl, meaning like I can do it. You don't need to hold my hand to make it up the steps. I can do it. I didn't like people, helping me out. But guess what? As I grew up, I wanted to be big girl. And it was difficult for me to ask for help for other people. I wanted to do it all myself. Are there any other big girls in here? I don't know, where we all get this from, but, when things are stressful, could you ask for help? Maybe that's what you need to do. Maybe you need to learn something new that you thought you couldn't learn. Maybe you just need to stand up when your energy drains and you notice that you have a different response. Maybe you need to get to bed every night at a certain time. It's not necessarily something you have to say, it's maybe taking a different response. If you're very unassertive, maybe take the responsibility to speak up more. If you would, take a moment right now and jot down in that last little wave something you could do different that might change everything about your situation. What could you do differently? Does anybody have any ideas here of something they can do different? How they can change that wave? What are you going to do different? Because you talked about the competing priorities.
I am going to go to bed earlier so I wake up and work out before I go to the office.
Aha! You're going to go to bed earlier so you can work out in the morning and you're ready, all charged up in the office, right? Taking responsibility for what you can do. What else? Anybody else have any other ideas? Yes. Ooh, that's powerful too. Don't compare myself to others. Absolutely. Anybody else have another idea? How about one more? Yes. Just reminding you, whatever they say is their opinion. Very good. Somebody else says, what? Retirement could be an option as well, right? Okay. Gotcha. So, you know what? Sometimes we can do something different about the things that we can control. And the fear that I had about surfing was something that I had to overcome. And when my daughter asked me one more time if I would get out there on the water and go surfing with her, and yes, she is that much taller than me, I rented myself a surfboard, and I decided I would take some lessons. I would at least try it. Yep. And I got there on the board during the lesson. It was a private lesson. I felt like I needed that, right? And I got on the board, and I learned how to balance myself. Because if you are too far forward, any idea what happens? Yep, you go down, right? You're too far back, and the wave just goes over you. So I learned how to lay on the board properly, how to push myself up, how to jump into position, kind of like that, and stand up. And I did it. I did it over and over again. The instructor was saying, yes, you can do it. My daughter was saying, you got it, Mom. And then the instructor said, now it's time to go into the water. Not as easy in the water, but I eventually did. I pushed off all of that board. I got myself into position. I let go. And I did it! All of us are capable of having a different response, doing something different. That's all part of the change process to be able to ride your own wave out there. And I hope that I've given you a few good skills of how simple things that you can do to make everything different and that you can ride your own wave. Cowabunga. Although my daughter says they don't say that.